Welcome to Chris BI. I'm Chris Wagner. I'm here with Chris the First Schmidt. How the heck are you doing today, Chris?
I'm good. Chris, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Excited to be here. Excited to be like at FabCon. Now you're going. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Christopher Schmidt. I am a principal program manager on the Microsoft Fabric real-time intelligence and IQ team. So I cover all things around ontologies, knowledge graphs, real-time streams of data, really about operationalizing data at scale in Microsoft Fabric.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, you're about to speak, and I just kidnapped you away from your speaking session to do this interview. What are you going to be talking about today?
Yeah, we have a couple of different sessions coming up this afternoon. I have a session today at 2 on implementation patterns with real-time intelligence. So one of the things we've done, it's a little bit different this FabCon that we haven't done in other FabCons before.
Mhm.
But instead of it being like all about like a new feature, like this is about real proven patterns on customers who've actually implemented real-time intelligence, what they're doing, how they're doing it, like challenges they ran into, scales, those kind of things, and kind of what those patterns look like. So mistakes and kind of things that they've done and what the actual business scenarios are using it for to solve real business use cases.
No, that's fantastic because I know a lot of people, when I talk real-time intelligence, they say, why would I want to use real-time intelligence? What are some of the top reasons people are using RTI today?
Yeah. So think about real-time intelligence as the ability to act on anything that you want to be able to act on in the moment, right? So as those events are occurring, a lot of people think of real-time intelligence as if I'm generating millions of events per second or per hour, like that's something I should use real-time intelligence for, but it doesn't always have to be at that scale, right? It's about, hey, a new sales just came in and I want something to happen. Or it's, I want a trigger to fire off when I run below a certain stock level in my inventory, right? So there's all these use cases around how do we really operationalize your data? Like at its core, what real-time intelligence really allows you to do is operationalize your data, right? So instead of thinking about it like a historical analytics perspective where it's like, hey, here's what happened, real-time intelligence really allows you to embrace the here's what's happening, and then here's what I want to go do about it. Right. So really moving from that kind of look back period to the moving forward period. Right. So here's these things that have occurred. And now the if this, then that of data.
Oh, I absolutely love that. Right. So that means like I used the last box of soap. I should get an alert to go buy more soap or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Right?
So if like sometimes with Amazon, you get a little notification on your phone. It's like, hey, you may be out of batteries.
Right.
Like think of real-time intelligence as a way to do that with your enterprise data.
Gosh, I absolutely love that. Now, as you work with the number of clients who are using RTI, what are some of the don't do's that you've seen or that you could help people avoid around using real-time intelligence?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. So real-time intelligence is really easy to get started.
Yeah.
It's also really easy to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you're not really careful.
Right.
I think the first thing is, when we think of processing data, we typically think of I have a bunch of different tables that are doing a bunch of different things, right?
Yeah.
So that would all be a bunch of different streams, and maybe I've got 10 or 20 different streams. With streaming data, there is no real need because it's very schema agnostic. There's no need to have schema enforced as things are being written. We can really infer schema as we were ready to read on those. So there's a big concept a couple of years ago called schema on read. Real-time intelligence is really great at schema on read type things. So you can bring data into one table, break it out, don't break it out. You don't really need to, but you can really model your data in a way where you're really acting on those things as they occur, not necessarily about, hey, I'm going to go build, this 500 table system that's got all these different things moving. That's not what event-driven architectures are. So you can collapse a lot of these event streams and a lot of what we would typically think of as separate tables as one consolidated table, bring that in, and then kind of do that. Like a really common thing I see a lot is I'm going to bring in an event stream. Maybe there's 10 different event types, right? Where like, hey, I got a stream of data and then I've got, I'll say fruits for an example, right? And then I have apples and oranges and, tomatoes and all these things. And an event stream, it's really easy to create a filter and be like oranges, apples, fruits. But what that winds up happening is you wind up using a lot more CU consumption within your event stream.
Sure.
Because every time you create a new stream path, you get a new stream processing job.
I got you.
And when you look at what CU consumption gets charged by on an event stream, it's stream processing jobs.
Okay.
So when you create one, it's much cheaper than creating, say, 10 different ones. One of those stories we'll be sharing this afternoon, we call it the $47,000 story because a customer was spending $47,000 on loading all these different event streams where they had 20 different event streams that were running for all
Right.
of the different filter things. We consolidated it down to one, and the cost went down from $47,000 to $12,000 based on the volume of the events for everything. So you're
Wow.
talking about a quarter of the cost just by making one simple change in your event stream.
So this sounds like it's something that's super powerful, something that people really need to know and understand how to use right to be cost effective and efficient, which totally makes a whole bunch of sense. If we think about like what's a good first project for people, someone to get started on working with event streams?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I think honestly, now with AI being so easy that it is,
Yeah.
find something that's interesting to you. Like,
Okay.
what's something that's interesting that you're like, hey, it'd be really nice if I could know about these things in real time, right? Or it'd be really nice if I could know about these things when they happen, right? Of like whatever business process it is, right?
Mhm.
Whatever you're curious about, whatever you're analyzing, right? If I could get this data faster, how could I unlock AI capabilities? How could I go make an agent, right? We talk a lot about agentic AI and those types of experiences, but how could I make it so that when these things happen, the agent is able to be smart enough to go respond to those pieces? So whatever that looks like for you, just honestly ask Copilot or, whichever your
Okay.
tool of choice is and say, hey, like, teach me, right? And then
Oh,
have it generate for you. I think, the more you can move into that space, like there's a lot to do there, and there's a lot of really exciting stuff. As a data person, I don't think I've ever been as excited over the last year in like the last 20 years because there's just so many things changing every day.
now one of the things I heard a little bit about at FabCon, and I did not talk to you about this ahead of time. So if you don't know, it's okay. But I think I heard about operational like streams of information that were coming out of Fabric. Do you know anything about that?
You mean operations agents?
Tell me more.
Yeah. So I was wondering where you were going to go with that when you
Yeah.
said I didn't talk to you about it before because I was like, oh, what kind of question are we going here for, Chris? But yeah. So one of the things we've announced in public preview is what we call operations agents.
Yeah.
So what an operations agent in Fabric allows you to do is create a defined rule, right?
Mhm.
So you tell an agent and say, hey, watch this data stream for me. Like, and as it's watching that data stream for you, integrate it into your business process.
Mhm.
So it's able to send you an adaptive card in Teams, or it's able to get the response and then go do the next thing that you want. So let's say, like, we'll take the stock inventory level as an
Sure.
example, right?
Yep.
So you configure an operations agent that sits on top of your stock inventory level.
Mhm.
An event house is tracking that data. It comes in and says, oh, stock level reached 2, right?
Sure.
Or it went down low below whatever that threshold is that we want. Now that it's gone down below that threshold that we want, the operations kicks off and processes it and says, hey, stock level's lower than 2. I think I should go reorder that, right? Well,
Right.
we're very much in this phase of technology where we don't just want to tell the agent, like, just go order it, right?
Right.
We want the agent to check with us first, right?
Right.
We want to be able to confirm a lot of these things,
A
right?
human in the middle,
A
right?
human in the middle, right?
Yep.
So where we can kind of check and validate these pieces. So what an operations agent allows you to do is configure this where then it will send you a notification in Teams or whatever, like, hey, I'm pretty sure I should go do this. Can you confirm for me? And then it'll allow you to confirm it and you say, yeah, go do that. Like, that's cool. Like just go knock yourself out. Like, I'm good with that. Like, no problems. Then you can configure that. The operations agent then takes that and then goes and places that order for you. So it's really able to integrate like the actual thing that you want to go happen, your actual business process, into the thing that you want the human to be able to kind of go see and observe.
I love this because it's real world implementations and practical use cases for like AI, which has been the big demand, but a lot of people didn't know how to actually pull the trigger on doing that.
Right.
This brings that home.
Right.
Chris, thank you so much for taking time right before your session to come and talk with us today. Do you have any words of advice for like what people could do to get started with RTI?
Like I said earlier, ask Copilot, ask your favorite agent, help you. Most importantly, have fun. Right. I think we're at a really good spot right now in terms of technology. There's so many tools available to us. Have fun, explore, be curious. Right. One thing I say about myself, I'm insatiably curious. And so I'm always looking for like that next new thing. Like just go be curious, just go ask questions, get out there, look for it, and just explore. Like see what you can do.
Oh, I love that.
Just
Chris,
don't do it in production. So if it goes down, you don't throttle your capacity and knock everything over the edge. Do it in some test capacity where nothing will happen.
Chris, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today at Kratos BI. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Go try RTI. Let us know down in the comments what you think. And hey, I'm a bad YouTuber, so I forgot to make sure you like and subscribe. But please do that too. You have the best day ever. Peace. Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.